Okay. So we should be recording now. What I'm going to do is exit this and go to my Google Drive. So when I do that, this is where you're going to start. You're going to always start with your Google Drive, and that's where you're going to be able to find this template. So when you have the information, the packet comes to you from the supervisor, from the repairman, whoever it may be, and you're ready to sit down and close it. Open your drive, and then up here in the top left, there's a button here that's a colorful plus sign, and it says new. So I'll click on that, and when you click it, you're going to get this menu option that pops up, and you're going to want to go down to Google Sheets, then just hover your mouse over this option right here, the arrow, and then scroll over and click from a template. So that's going to open up a new sheet in Google. Then you're going to select from right here in this basics section. There's a corporate closing sheet right here, and you're going to click on this every time. So if you double click it, it'll open up a clean version of the sheet so that every time you go and you're ready to start a new one, when you open it, it's going to be a nice fresh copy without any of the old info you've typed in, and it's going to be available to just start entering in right away. So you've got a couple different tabs on this. At the bottom, you've got a closing sheet tab and a data tab. The closing sheet tab is just a summary page that you're not actually going to enter any information into. You're going to enter all the information into the data tab. So the first thing I'm going to do when I open this is up here at the top. I'm going to highlight this and rename the sheet as the project number. So for our example, we'll just call it a roof. So I'm going to say R1234567. And you can just hit enter. And then if I go to the bottom and click on data, now I'll open the sheet that is actually going to calculate all of my margins. I'll be able to enter in all my installers, employees, subs in here. So the way the flow works, there's a slide in the PowerPoint that walks you through, we label on here that do this step first, do this step second, third, fourth, and so on. So you can kind of follow that as a guide. Anywhere that you see on this sheet that's highlighted in red, that's where you need to put the information in. So anything that's green, you don't need to touch it. The sheet's actually locked, so you can't change it anyways. But anything that's red, you know that you need to review it and see if there's something you need to put in there. So we start over here. The first thing we'll do is enter the project number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The ID number, we'll get all this information off of the cover sheet from the packet. Completion date, you can just put in here as the day that you're closing it today. You don't need to enter the year. If you just type the date, it'll automatically fill the year and then type in the customer's name. So you've got that information done, and we're ready to move over to the next section. This has got a base price section, additions, and discounts. So we've got some more additions lines in here. So if you have any wood charges or any additional work that we found out when we got to the job, we're going to enter that in here. And there's a description column where here is where you'll type a description, and here's where you type the price. So I'll show you how it's done up here where it says base price. There's a drop-down menu right here that the first thing you do over here is you hit this drop-down menu, and then you select which type of project you're closing. So is it a roof, a repair, so on and so on. So for our example, I'm going to do roof. So you'll notice, and we'll get to this in a second, but I'll jump ahead a little. If this is blank, you'll see that this inventory column right here has an input that you need to type something here, and you don't need to do anything here. But when you change this to a roof, it's going to highlight that you don't need to enter anything in here now, and you need to enter it in this column right here, and we'll go over that. But I just wanted you to notice that. So the roof, and then I'm going to put on here what our original invoice price was to the homeowner. So for simplicity, let's say it was a $10,000 roof, and then we had an addition of 10 sheets OSB decking, and then the price for that was $450. And then I'll show you a discount example just to review that. So the discount, let's just say, we'll call it property damage. We don't ever do that. Property damage, and the thing to remember about the discount line is you have to put a minus sign first to indicate it's a negative to subtract, and we'll call it $100. So you'll notice that my price down here just updated to reflect those changes. So you can add all the additions and discounts. Just make sure you add a description and a price. This back charge division only applies if we're closing an IR. So we'll go over the closing of an IR after this, but just know that if it's not red, you don't need to do anything with it. Then I'll move over to square count. Square count is only relevant in the instance that we're going to have a platinum warranty that we're registering for the customer. So let's say that the total number of squares we installed was 25 squares. That 25 calculates the cost of our platinum warranty down here. If I change this, we pay, essentially the way we do our platinum warranties is anything above 20 squares, we pay a flat fee for it of $230. Anything less than 20, we pay a per square price on it. So if I change this to 15, you'll notice that it changes, and then 16, and so on and so on. And if I enter in 22, it's the flat fee. 23 is the flat. So all you have to do in this cell is just enter in the number of squares, only if that job is getting a platinum warranty. This column for receipts is just a column where any invoice or receipts that you have in your packet, you're going to want to add, or you're going to want to type in just those total amounts in this field here. So let's say we have a invoice for $2,500, $125, and $56.77. So that'll all total up here, and then add over here as well. It'll add up. The dump section, for most of the outer markets right now, this section is what you're going to use, this column, just to enter in the total charge on the dump. In Indy, we have 2 locations that we use that all they give us when we are closing it is the number of tons that were that we took into the dump, and we don't get those amounts when we're closing it. So these are based on if I took 2.5 tons of material to this place, they're going to charge us $48.50. If your market has a location like this, we can add it to the sheet and just put your market at the end of it, and we would just need the price per ton and the name of the location, and we can add it for you. So for our purposes, let's just put $100 in the dump fee. It's going to add up. You have a couple different lines. You can add all those, and it'll add up. And that comes over here as well. So here is where the inventory section, this is actually new. I just updated this in the last hour or so, and I'll need to update our notes. But this section right here, when it's a roof, you remember if I showed you when it's not a roof, it doesn't show up as you need to type anything in here. You're going to type the inventory amount directly into this cell. So if it's a repair and you use a bundle of shingles from inventory, you're just going to type in the amount right here. So when it's a roof, this changes to yellow, saying you don't need to enter anything in here. And this right here shows that you need to enter in information right here. So as of right now, these are all the products that most people stock in their inventory, and the dollar per unit is blank right now. But if you use this drop-down menu in this cell, you can select your market. Indianapolis isn't on here because they use a totally separate sheet. but we'll use Lafayette as an example. So when I click Lafayette, all of Lafayette's inventory prices are popping up. If I type Nashville, they change and it pulls up Nashville's inventory prices. So on and so on, so that as long as you're selecting your market, your price is going to pop up here to be able to accurately calculate your inventory cost. So let's use Lafayette as an example. And all you have to do in these cells is if you used any of these materials or returned any of these materials, you just type in either a positive number if you brought it with you and used it, or if you're returning it or bringing it back into inventory, you do a minus. So let's say that we brought back with us, we returned 2 bundles of duration. We brought back, or we took 3 rolls of felt with us, 2 rolls of ice and water shield, box of nails, box of cap nails, 2 pipe boots, and 2 rain collars. It's going to automatically calculate your inventory cost right here and pull it over into this cell. But if we're not doing a roof, you would just manually type in your amount right there. So the crucial piece here is making sure that you pick the correct market, and then your correct inventory prices will show up. After you enter in your inventory, move over to the subcontractor field, and we're just going to work our way down from here. So in the subcontractor field, there's a drop-down menu that has all of the subcontractors in the company with their home market next to their name. So the reason for that is just if there's 2 subs that have similar names, we can distinguish between them. Or if, let's say, Abraham came over to Lafayette to help out, we would know that, hey, I know that Abraham's from Cincinnati and he's the crew that came over and helped us. So I'm going to put in Abraham's name right here. Then you have to type in how much, based on the subcontractor payroll, how much you're paying him, and just enter that amount in here. So we're going to say $18.50 is what we'll pay him. So we're done in that section. This section right here for financing, if the job is being financed, we'll enter the information in here. If they're paying by any other method that's not financing, then you can just skip this part and leave it all blank. So the first thing I'll select is the provider. So here are the companies that we use for financing. So let's just pretend it's Service Finance. And then to make it even more simple, all you have to choose is, are they doing a same as cash plan, like a 12-month or something like that? Or are they wanting to do a monthly payment plan where they're going to pay bi-monthly for however many months? I'll show you same as cash first. So you pick same as cash, and then you have to enter, if they're financing, you have to enter in how much they're financing, because some customers aren't going to finance the full $10,350. They may only be financing $5,000. So I enter in that, and it's going to pull over here now. It's going to automatically calculate our financing cost. And then if I change this to monthly, we'll see that it changes to nothing because of a promotional plan that we're not getting charged anything. So same as cash shows it right there. So we can just leave that in for the example. The next thing I'll do is move down and pick my employees. So for a roof example, I would pick a supervisor. If there's 2 supervisors on a job, there's 2 options. The installer's same. If it's a different kind of project, say a repair or an interiors exteriors job, masonry, you would enter that in. So I'm going to do, for the roof, I'm going to pick a supervisor from the drop-down menu. I'm going to pick one from Lafayette. That pulls his name over. And then I'm going to pick a salesman who sold the job. I'll say Adam sold it. So once you pick those 2, these cells are in red as well, and you need to verify that this is the percent that those employees are getting paid on this job. So let's say this supervisor, say, is maybe getting 2% on this job rather than 3. Just type in 2, and it'll automatically calculate their payroll off to the side. Just type in a 3, it'll go back to its original amount. Same with the salesman. If this were a repair instead of a roof, type 7.5, and it'll calculate the new amount based on that. Same with installers. I defaulted it just to a 21%. If you guys get paid a different percentage, you'll just have to update that when you are doing the sheet. So after you add all that information, at this point we're done, and we can go back to the cover sheet, the closing sheet, and this is just a summary of everything we entered in on the other page with our margins, everything that the accounting team will need to close the job in Improvement 360. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go back and quickly show you an example of like an issue resolution if you're closing one. So I'm going to go back to the data tab, and I'm going to leave the rest of this information in here, but just change a couple things. So I'm going to say that we want to enter in a price of 0. We won't have any prices for our additions or discounts. And I need to change this description to IR. And before I do that, this back charge division right now is marked in yellow, meaning we don't need to enter anything in here. But when I select IR, it changes to red, and I need to enter that amount in that. I need to select from this list what division the cost is going to be allocated back to. So let's say that it's Lafayette Masonries who we're back charging this to. You don't need to enter in a square count because we're not going to register any platinum warranties on an issue resolution. So you don't enter anything in there. And then everything else you can enter if you have any receipts, any dump, any inventory. If you use a sub, if you use salesman, we still want to add a salesman down here. Even though they're not going to get paid, we still want to add who wrote the issue resolution and then who completed it. So you may notice that this section right here is now marked in red too, where if I don't pick an IR, it's not marked. But with an issue resolution, we have to come over here and manually type in how much those employees are getting paid to complete the IR, because these formulas calculate based on a price being up here. And since there is no price on an issue resolution, typically we'll just come down here and manually type in what they're going to get paid. So let's say Andrew's going to get paid $75 for completing this. So I just type 75 and hit enter. And then it'll pull up that's how much he's getting paid. The percentages don't really matter. So now when I go back to the cover sheet, now you'll see up here it says IR and the back charge division is just at the top. And then it'll calculate the cost and everything like that as well. In order to print this, because we're done at this point, we've entered all our information, we're ready to print it and put it back in the packet and hand to our office manager. You'll click up here on this very top cell and then click and hold while you drag down and just drag to the very bottom. So the only thing that's selected is this section right here. You're going to go up to this print button and hit print. And it's going to take you to the print settings. And you'll notice that it doesn't print very clean because it cuts the page off and it wants to print on 2 pages. So we want to change that. So there's 2 areas we can do that. We need to go to the print section up here, and we need to go to the scale section right here. So first, under the print drop down, I'm going to hit selected cells. And then I'm going to, under scale, select fit to page. Now it'll print out on 1 clean piece of paper, and we won't have to worry about having 2 separate pages. And all you would do from there is just hit next, and then you'll select the printer destination, so your default printer will show up. click print, and then put it in the packet. And at that point, the production manager, division manager, general manager, whoever's closing the job is done with their portion. So I'm gonna hit cancel on that. And then you can just exit out of it at that point. Don't need to worry about saving it. It'll automatically save. And if you're ready to do another one, just go back up to new, hover over Google Sheets, and hit from a template. And that's it. So I'm going to stop recording this for